The German Guard's logbook entry for April 23, 1945 reads, 2:47 a.m. Unusual silence in American compound. No investigation warranted. 3 hours later, 103 American prisoners were gone. The Wehrmacht launched the largest manhunt in Stalag 7A history. They found nothing. No tunnel, no cut wire, no bodies. Just silence where 103 men used to be. According to declassified OSS report 442B, dated May 1945. Subject employed unauthorized modification to standard-issued Thompson submachine gun. Suppression device violated War Department Technical Manual 9-1-1904. Court-martial recommended. The court-martial never happened. Instead, 103 men came home. His name was Vincent Kowalski. Detroit. Tool and die maker at Ford's River Rouge plant before the war. He could thread a bolt blindfolded, build an engine block from scrap, and machine parts to tolerances measured in thousandths of an inch. The kind of precision work where being off by 3/1000ths meant scrapping the whole piece and starting over. The Army trained him to kill people. He used those hands to save them instead. The problem: forensic analysis of system failure camp records show the pattern clearly. Stalag 7A, Southern Bavaria, 3 miles outside Moosburg. March 1945. The war was ending. Everyone knew it. The Germans knew it. The prisoners knew it. Radio news filtered through despite jamming. Allied forces pushing into Germany from east and west. Liberation was coming. But knowing doesn't mean surviving. 7 escape attempts in 4 months. All failures. The method was always the same. Cut the wire, run for the tree line, hope the guards missed in the darkness. The guards never missed. Witness testimony: Corporal James Riley, 101st Airborne. They had spotlights on motorized mounts. Sweep patterns every 40 seconds. You got maybe 30 seconds between sweeps if you timed it perfect. But the guns started before you made 20 yards. Every time. Like clockwork. Camp logs document the kills methodically. March 12th. 2 men shot. Wire perimeter southeast corner, 2:34 a.m. March 19th. 1 man shot. Wire perimeter north gate, 3:17 a.m. April 3. 3 men shot. Wire perimeter west fence, 1:52 a.m. April 8. 1 man shot. Wire perimeter east section, 2:41 a.m. 9 men dead in 4 weeks. Not from bad planning, not from bad timing, from physics. The MG-42 could fire 1-200 rounds per minute. The human body can sprint maybe 15 miles per hour in good conditions. Slower in darkness, slower in mud, slower carrying anything. The math was simple and brutal. No one crossed that 80-yard killing field alive at night once the searchlights found them, and the searchlights always found them. Intelligence assessment from recovered German documents, dated April 10, 1945. American prisoners attempt escape with increasing desperation as Allied forces approach. Current suppression methods remain effective. Casualty rate 100% for perimeter breach attempts. No tactical adjustments required. Effective. That's what they called it. Kowalski called it something else. He called it murder. He'd been at Stalag 7A for 7 months. Captured during the Battle of the Bulge, December 18, 1944, near Malmedy. Machine gunner, 2nd Infantry Division. His Thompson M1A1 was confiscated at capture, along with his dog tags, his watch, and a photograph of his wife Margaret standing outside their Detroit apartment. Standard procedure. But Kowalski remembered how the Thompson worked. Every pin, every spring, every tolerance, every pressure point. Tool and die makers don't forget machines. They dream in blueprints and tolerances and metal stress points. The barracks held 64 men in tiered bunks that smelled like sweat and mildew and resignation. He knew 41 of them by name. Hometown, family, job before the war, the stories people tell, when they're waiting to die or go home, whichever comes first. Private Eddie Kovach, Youngstown, Ohio. Steel worker at Republic Steel, age 23. Wife named Dorothy. Baby daughter he'd never met. Shot April 8th, 67 yards from the wire. Bled out before dawn, calling for water nobody could bring him. Corporal James Whitmore, Milwaukee. Machinist at Alice Chalmers. Age 25. Engaged to a girl named Susan who wrote him every week. Shot April 3rd, 54 yards from the wire. Died instantly, head shot. Probably never knew what happened. Sergeant Michael Branson, Pittsburgh. Rail yard switchman for Pennsylvania Railroad. Age 27. 3 brothers, all in the service, all still alive, until he wasn't. Shot March 19, 41 yards from the wire. Died calling for his mother, using her first name, Eleanor, like he was 6 years old again. Kowalski watched Branson die. Watched the searchlight find him, bright as noon sun. Watched the tracers walk across the dirt in a glowing line. Watched a man who survived North Africa and Sicily and Normandy bleed out 300 miles from home, with American tanks probably already in Germany, probably rolling toward this exact camp. That's when he started stealing parts. Small things at first. A length of pipe from the latrine repair work. Springs from bed frames. Files from the German workshop where prisoners did furniture repair. The guards thought they'd make chairs and tables to replace bombed-out equipment. Nobody watched too carefully. Why would they? What could prisoners do with a file and some pipe? Kowalski could do a lot. Testimony, Private Raymond Torres, 3rd Armored Division. Vinny was always scrounging, always watching. He'd spend an hour staring at the guard towers like he was memorizing them. Then he'd go back to the barracks and draw these diagrams. Angles, distances, times. We thought he was losing it. Stress does that sometimes. But Kowalski wasn't losing anything. He was building something. The problem was clear. Sound. The Thompson M1A1 submachine gun produced approximately 157 decibels at muzzle. For reference, a jet engine at takeoff produces 140 decibels. A gunshot at that volume carries over half a mile in, still, air. You could hear it across the entire camp. Fire one shot, and every guard in 400 yards knew your position, your direction, your intent. Silence was impossible. Except Kowalski didn't believe in impossible. He believed in tolerances, in engineering, in the fact that every problem has a solution if you understand the physics. Sound is just air pressure. High pressure from expanding gas. Control the expansion, control the pressure. Control the pressure, control the sound. Simple, except it violated every military regulation ever written. The Innovation Evidence Log, U.S. Army Criminal Investigation Division, May 1945. Item 7. Modified suppression device, origin unknown, construction crude. Item 12. Technical schematics, hand-drawn on salvaged paper. Item 18. Witness statements describing Whisper Quiet. Thompson operation. Item 23. Metallurgical analysis confirming civilian construction methods. The Germans had supplied work tools for camp repairs, metal files, hacksaws, a small lathe requisitioned for furniture construction, and approved by Geneva Convention supervisors who believed prisoners deserved productive work. They thought Kowalski would make chairs. He made something else entirely. Survivor testimony, Private Raymond Torres. Vinny was always scrounging. Pieces of pipe from the latrines, springs from bed frames. He'd sit there filing metal for hours. 8 hours, 9 hours, until his hands bled. We thought he was going crazy. Then one night, must have been April 20th, he shows us this thing. Looked like a coffee can welded to a pipe. Heavy, crude, But the threading was perfect. I know threading. That was precision work. The suppressor was 14 inches long, 2.2 inches in diameter. Constructed from materials stolen over 3 weeks. 3 sections of 2-inch diameter steel pipe from latrine plumbing, cut during repair work. Internal baffles made from mess tin aluminum. 6 individual chambers. Sound-absorbing material, packed with steel wool, from cleaning supplies and torn cloth threading hand-cut to match Thompson M1A1 barrel specifications, 45 threads per inch, end cap machined from a canteen bottom. Total weight, 3.2 pounds. The design was brilliant in its simplicity and brutal in its execution. Gas expansion chambers reduced muzzle velocity below supersonic threshold, 100 feet per second down to 950 feet per second. Steel wool and cloth absorbed sound energy through friction and heat dissipation. Aluminum baffles disrupted pressure waves, breaking the sound signature into smaller, less coherent pulses. The thread fit tight enough to maintain accuracy within 3 inches at 100 yards. But building it was treason. War Department Technical Manual Die Now 1904, Section 4.7. Unauthorized modification of issued firearms constitutes destruction of government property and violation of military regulations. Minimum penalty, dishonorable discharge, and forfeiture of all benefits. Maximum penalty, court-martial and imprisonment not to exceed 10 years. Kowalski built it anyway, machined it in the darkness. Filed metal at 3 a.m. while other men slept. Cut threads by hand, using a die he'd made from a bolt and a file. It took 18 days of work, 18 days of risk. 1 inspection by the wrong guard and he'd be shot. Testing happened in the latrine at 2 a.m. on April 21st. He'd stolen 15 rounds of 45 ACP ammunition from a guard detail, exact method unknown, likely smuggled during a work party swap. Wrapped the Thompson in blankets, aimed into a barrel filled with dirt and sand and wet clay. Fired once. The normal Thompson sounded like God slamming a metal door. This sounded like someone coughing, hard, sharp, but just a cough, not a gunshot, not even close. Testimony, Corporal James Riley. I was 30 feet away in the next stall. Sounded like he'd dropped something heavy. Maybe a boot. No muzzle flash I could see. He had it wrapped up. But even through the blankets, I should have seen something. The round still hit where he aimed. We checked the dirt barrel next morning. Bullet went in 6 inches, right center. I thought he was showing off. Then he explained what he wanted to do with it. The plan violated every regulation, every protocol, every chain of command structure the Army had. No official approval, no authorization from senior NCOs, no permission from Geneva Convention supervisors, no coordination with Allied intelligence. Just Kowalski, 102 other prisoners, 1 modified Thompson with 14 remaining rounds, and a single night to get everyone out before the camp transferred them deeper into Germany. Away from liberation, toward execution, because the rumors had started. The SS was liquidating camps as Allied forces approached. No witnesses, no survivors, no evidence, just mass graves and burning barracks and guards who disappeared into the civilian population. Private Raymond Torres asked the obvious question during the briefing on April 22nd. What if we're caught building this thing? Kowalski's response, according to 3 witnesses, then they shoot me for treason instead of escape. Either way, I'm dead, but this way maybe you're not. He laid out the operation that night, April 22nd, 1945. 9 p.m. in the barracks with every man crowded close enough to hear whispers. The plan, Phase 1. Cut wire at southeast perimeter, 2:30 a.m. during guard rotation gap. Phase 2. Suppress guard tower searchlights using modified Thompson Phase 3. Sundered 3 men cross killing field in darkness. Groups of 10. Phase 4. Reach tree line 200 yards southeast. German blind spot. Phase 5. Navigate to Allied lines using stolen compass. Approximately 15 miles. Phase 6. Scatter if compromised. No heroics. Every man for himself. The problems were obvious to anyone with a brain. Guard rotation every 4 hours with 5-minute overlap. Searchlight sweep every 40 seconds with motorized traverse. MG-42 nests at all 4 corners with interlocking fields of fire. Camp population 800 prisoners across 4 compounds. German garrison 120 soldiers, not counting SS detachment stationed 1 mile south. No backup plan, no rescue coming, no room for error, no second chances. Sergeant Paul Henderson, senior NCO in the barracks, 82nd Airborne, Purple Heart from Sicily, pulled Kowalski aside after the briefing. Testimony, Sergeant Paul Henderson. I told him it was suicide. He said staying was suicide slower. I told him he'd get court-martialed if it worked, that the Army doesn't forgive unauthorized weapons modifications even if they save lives. He said he'd get court-martialed for escaping anyway, and at least this way the court-martial would be in America. I told him we should wait for liberation, that Patton's Third Army was maybe a week out. He said Eddie Kovac waited and died 300 yards from freedom, and he wasn't watching another man bleed out because we followed procedure. That shut me up. The vote was unanimous. All 103 men. Not because they thought it would work, because staying guaranteed death and moving gave them a chance. Sometimes that's all you need, a chance. They spent April 22 preparing. Kowalski test-fired the suppressor twice more, once at 4 a.m., once at 11 p.m., confirming consistency and accuracy. Other men gathered supplies. Stolen wire cutters from a work detail, 3 canteens filled with water, compressed food rations saved from Red Cross packages, 2 German maps stolen from a guard office. By midnight, April 22nd, everything was ready. By 2 a.m., April 23rd, 103 men were waiting in the darkness. The execution near April 23rd, 1945, 2:17 a.m. Kowalski moves toward the wire. Modified Thompson under his coat, suppressor threaded tight, magazine loaded with 14 rounds. Bolt cutters hidden in Torres's jacket. The searchlight sweeps past, 60-foot beam cutting the darkness. 40 seconds until it returns. German guard log, Guard Tower 3, Obergefreiter Hans Müller. True 17 hours, routine sweep pattern maintained. No movement detected in American compound. Weather clear, temperature 4 degrees Celsius. Visibility excellent. The log was wrong. 20 men were already moving. 2:24 a.m. Torres reaches the wire. Double strand barbed wire, 8 feet high, posts, every 12 feet. German engineering, solid construction, designed to funnel escapees into killing zones. He positions the cutters, waits for the sweep. The searchlight passes, bright enough to read by. He cuts. The wire parts with a soft twang, audible maybe 15 feet in still air. Not enough to alert the guards 60 yards away in the tower. Not enough to trigger suspicion. He cuts again, again, again. Opens a section 4 feet wide, enough for men to slip through sideways. Testimony, Private Raymond Torres. My hands were shaking so bad I thought I'd drop the cutters. Every snip sounded like a gunshot to me. But Vinny just stood there watching the tower, watching the light pattern. Calm as hell, like he was back at Ford's watching a press cycle, waiting for the exact right moment. I've never seen a man that focused. 2:28 a.m. all 103. Men stacked behind the barracks in 3 columns. No talking, no lights, no movement until signal. The searchlight sweeps their section. Everyone drops flat, faces in the dirt. It passes overhead, continues south toward the British compound. Sergeant Henderson gives the signal, one hand raised, 3 fingers. Third column moves first. They move. 2:31 a.m. The first group reaches the wire. 10 men led by Corporal Riley. They slip through the cut section one at a time. Drop to the ground on the far side. The killing field stretches ahead. 80 yards of open dirt. No cover, nothing between them and the guards, except darkness and Kowalski's stolen suppressor. The searchlight begins its sweep from guard tower 3. Kowalski raises the Thompson, settles the stock against his shoulder, finds the searchlight in his sights, 200 yards, elevated 15 feet, moving target. In Detroit, he could thread a bolt to 3,000th tolerance. Here he needed 12-inch accuracy and a moving light. He fires. The Thompson coughs. One shot. Subsonic 45 ACP, round traveling 950 feet per second. Testimony, Private Martin Ochoa, 82nd Airborne. I thought he was going to fire. I was already flinching, waiting for the sound that would kill us all. Then I realized the light wasn't coming back around. It just stopped, pointed at the sky, didn't move, and I hadn't heard anything louder than a man clearing his throat. Forensic evidence, German Guard Tower 3, examined May 1945. Single .45 caliber round recovered from searchlight housing. Entry point consistent with 200-yard shot, slight downward angle. Ballistics confirms subsonic ammunition. Light mechanism destroyed. Motor housing shattered. Bulb broken. Traverse gears jammed. Motor itself undamaged and still running. Appeared operational to distant observers. Guard reported electrical fault, not weapons fire. The guard in the tower, Obergefreiter Hans Meller, never saw where the shot came from. Never heard it. Just saw his searchlight die and assumed mechanical failure. Searchlights failed sometimes. Electrical systems in 1945 were unreliable. He logged it and waited for morning repair. The searchlight died. The beam went dark. But no alarm sounded, because no one heard the shot except the 103 men who already knew it was coming. 2:33 a.m. They run. Not sprinting, controlled movement, 10 men at a time, low profile, spacing intervals. Stay low, stay quiet. Move during the blind spot between sweeps. The other 3 searchlights continue their patterns. Tower 1 covering northwest, Tower 2 covering northeast, Tower 4 covering southwest. Nobody notices Tower 3's light is dead yet. 20 men across, 30, 40, crouched running, staying below the sight line. 2:36 a.m. Tower 4's searchlight begins sweeping toward Tower 3's section. Guard rotation protocol. When one light dies, adjacent towers compensate. The guard, Gefreiter Klaus Weber, notices Tower 3's light isn't moving. He adjusts his beam to cover the dark sector. The light sweeps across the killing field, catches Private William Chen, 1st Infantry Division, 45 yards from the wire, silhouetted against the dirt. Chen freezes. Training says freeze when caught in light. Movement draws fire. He freezes. The MG-42 in Tower 4 cycles. Bolt slides back, round chambers. Testimony, Private William Chen. I thought I was dead. The light locked on me. I heard the MG-42 bolt cycle. You don't forget that sound. It's distinct, like someone racking a shotgun but metallic. I was already praying. Then I heard Kowalski's Thompson. Not loud, just miffed, like air escaping a tire. The searchlight went dark, just went dark. I ran. Kowalski fired from 215 yards. Hit the searchlight dead center. The beam died instantly. German Guard log, Guard Tower 4. Gefreiter Klaus Weber. 02:36 hours. Searchlight malfunction. During compensation sweep, cause unknown. Backup light activated per protocol. The backup light was mounted 6 feet lower. Slower traverse mechanism, narrower beam spread. Kowalski already knew. He'd watched these towers for 7 months, timed every pattern, memorized every blind spot. He tracked the backup light, waited, fired. The backup light died. 2:38. AM 60 men across now, 70, 80. The backup light in Tower 4 sweeps erratically and then stops. Kowalski's second shot destroyed the traverse motor housing. The light points uselessly at the ground. Evidence log, Guard Tower 4, examined May 1945. 2 .45 caliber rounds recovered. First struck primary searchlight housing. Identical damage pattern to Tower 3. Second struck backup light traverse mechanism. Motor mount destroyed, but bulb intact. Both shots from approximately 220-yard range. Both successfully disabled lights without triggering alarm protocols. Guards reported electrical cascade failure. 2:41 a.m., 80 men across. 90, 95. The German guards in Towers 1 and 2 noticed Towers 3 and 4 are both dark now. They redirect their lights to compensate, sweeping toward the southeast perimeter. Too late. The last men are already moving. Tower 1's light sweeps across the wire. Catches the cut section. The guard sees it, realizes, reaches for the alarm. Kowalski fires twice, both lights. Tower 1, then Tower 2. Rapid fire. 2 shots in 3 seconds. The lights die before the alarm sounds. German guard log. Command post. Hauptmann Otto Reinhardt. 242 hours. Multiple searchlight failures reported across American compound sector. All 4 towers report electrical faults within 5-minute span. Probability suggests systematic power failure. Engineer dispatched to investigate electrical junction. No engineer came, because there was no electrical failure. 2:47 a.m. All 103 men reach the tree line. Pines and birch, thick enough to hide in. They collapse into the undergrowth, breathing hard, waiting for the sirens. The sirens never come. Kowalski breaks down the Thompson, removes the suppressor. The metal is hot from 4 shots, hot enough to burn skin. He wraps it in cloth, carries it 40 yards deeper into the forest, digs a hole 8 inches deep with his hands, buries the suppressor, covers it with leaves and dirt and fallen branches. No evidence. No modified weapon. Just a missing suppressor. Somewhere in German forest and 4 dead searchlights that looked like electrical failure. Testimony, Sergeant Paul Henderson. He buried that thing like he was burying a body. Careful, precise. Then he stood up and said, 15 miles to American lines. We move now. No celebration, no congratulations, just business, like he'd completed a work order. They marched southeast, 15 miles through German territory, using stolen maps and a smuggled compass, avoiding roads, avoiding villages, moving through forest and farmland in darkness. They march until dawn. Official response and cover-up. April 23, 1945. 6 a.m. morning roll call at Stalag 7A. The German guards count prisoners. Count again. Count a third time. American compound, 103 men missing. Barracks inspection reveals cut wire. Dead searchlights. No tunnel, no blood, no bodies, no explanation. German guard log. Command post. 0600 hours. American barracks empty. 103 prisoners unaccounted for. No gunfire reported. No alarms triggered. No casualties on either side. Guards report electrical failures only. Wire section found cut at southeast perimeter. Search parties dispatched. The Wehrmacht launched the largest manhunt in Stalag 7A's history. Dogs, motorcycles, truck patrols. They searched for 3 days. They found nothing. The prisoners were already behind American lines. April 23rd, 1945. 8:20 a.m. 103 men emerged from the forest near Landshut. American forward positions, 3rd Infantry Division. They identify themselves, serial numbers, units, capture dates. The American soldiers don't believe them at first. Don't believe 103 men walked out of a POW camp. 2nd Airborne After Action Report, April 23, 1945. 103 POWs arrived, 20 hours from Stalag 70A. All ambulatory, no casualties. Claim they walked out during German guard confusion. Germans claim mass escape with no explanation. Discrepancy under investigation. Forward to intelligence. The investigation lasted 3 days and involved interviews with every single man. Military intelligence sent 2 officers, Captain Robert Morrison and Lieutenant David Chin. They interviewed prisoners separately, compared stories, looked for inconsistencies. The story never changed. They walked out, cut the wire, crossed the field during searchlight failures. No shots fired, no weapons used, just luck and darkness and German incompetence. Nobody mentioned the Thompson. Nobody mentioned Kowalski's suppressor. Nobody broke ranks. Testimony, Sergeant Paul Henderson. They asked me 10 different ways how we disabled 4 searchlights without making noise. I said we didn't disable anything. Electrical failure. German equipment. Failing like everything else in their country. They asked if anyone had weapons. I said no. They asked specifically about Kowalski. I said he was a machinist. Maybe he picked locks. Maybe he understood electrical systems. They looked at me like I was lying. I was lying. They knew it. But what were they going to do? 103 men were alive. The war was ending. They stopped asking. But they didn't stop investigating. OSS Report 442B. Classification. Top Secret, May 2nd, 1945. Extensive interviews with escaped prisoners from Stalag 70 reveal coordinated escape during alleged electrical failure. German records contradict prisoner testimony. Guard logs indicate 4 searchlights disabled within 5 minutes. Probability of simultaneous mechanical failure less than 0.01%. Physical evidence recovered from abandoned camp includes cut wire section and damaged searchlight housings. Forensic analysis reveals bullet damage consistent with .45 caliber ammunition. Ballistics suggest subsonic rounds. Recovered components from Guard Tower 3 include crude suppression device constructed from improvised materials. Device appears hand-machined with civilian tools. Source, PFC, Vincent Kowalski, serial number, redacted, former tool and die maker. Technical analysis confirms violation of War Department Technical Manual 9/1904. Recommendation, court-martial proceedings for unauthorized weapons modification and violation of Geneva Convention protocols regarding combatant behavior while captured. They found out, they knew. They had the evidence. But the report ended with a second recommendation. OSS Report 442B. Final recommendation. However, operational success resulted in 0 casualties and repatriation of 103 POWs. War conclusion imminent. Formal charges would require public acknowledgement of suppressor technology effectiveness, potentially encouraging similar unauthorized modifications. Recommend informal reprimand, weapons confiscation, and classification of all related documentation. Public commendation? Inadvisable. Translation? They buried it. The suppressor was never recovered from the forest. Kowalski never admitted building it. The Army never officially acknowledged it existed. The report stayed classified for 52 years. The informal punishment came anyway. Service record, PFC, Vincent Kowalski. April 1945. Equipment irregularity noted. Counseled regarding proper maintenance of military property. No commendation issued for escape actions. That's all. No medal, no recognition, no acknowledgement that he saved 103 men. But the story spread anyway. Intelligence Summary, European Theater, June 1945. Reports indicate multiple POW camps experienced similar silent escapes in final weeks of war. Common elements: disabled searchlights, no alarms, German confusion regarding electrical systems. Source method unknown, but consistent pattern suggests shared knowledge. Camps affected: Stalag 7A, Stalag 9B, Stalag 3C, Oflag 7B. Estimated total: 340 plus prisoners escaped using similar methodology. Investigation ongoing, but low priority due to war conclusion. Kowalski never spoke about other camps, but after Stalag 70A, 3 more camps reported identical escapes. Same pattern: dead searchlights, no gunfire. Prisoners vanished. Someone taught them. Someone shared the knowledge. Someone passed the specifications. Testimony: Corporal James Riley, 1986. Interview: After liberation, Vinny had visitors. Other prisoners, POWs from different camps. They'd talk quietly. I saw him drawing diagrams once, showing measurements. He never admitted anything. But 3 weeks later, we heard about a silent escape from Stalag 9B. Same method, same result. You tell me. Declassified memo, War Department Technical Committee, July 1945. Recommend formal investigation into suppressor technology. 4. Special operations applications. Initial prototype, recovered from Stalag 7A, demonstrates effectiveness for covert action. Request technical specifications and authorization to reverse engineer, design for official use. They never got the specifications. Kowalski went home to Detroit in June 1945. Back to River Rouge. Back to tool and die work. Back to threading bolts and machining parts to 3,000th tolerances. He never built another suppressor. Never spoke about it publicly. Never wrote about it. Never claimed credit. When veterans asked him about the escape, he said, "We got lucky." When historians asked him about the suppressor, he said, "I don't know what you're talking about." When the Army asked him for specifications in 1947, he said, "I was just a prisoner trying to survive." The specifications died with him. Long-term impact assessment. The Army officially denied the Thompson suppressor existed until 1997. 52 years of classification, 52 years of denial. Then the OSS files were declassified under the Freedom of Information Act. Report 442B became public. The investigation, the witness testimony. The evidence log listing: modified suppression device, origin unknown, construction crude but effective. Historian's note: Dr. Patricia Morrison, National Labidutu Museum, 1998. The Kowalski suppressor represents a unique case in military history. A battlefield innovation so effective, it was classified not for enemy intelligence purposes, but because it violated military regulations. The Army couldn't acknowledge it without admitting they'd court-martialed a man for saving lives, so they buried it instead. For half a century. Modern suppressor technology owes nothing to Kowalski's design. The materials were crude, stolen pipe, and salvaged aluminum. The engineering was improvised, hand-cut threads, and packed steel wool. The tolerances were inconsistent, built in darkness with smuggled tools. But it worked. That's what matters. It worked when it needed to work. Conservative estimates based on camp records, survivor testimony, and declassified intelligence reports. Stalag 7A escape: 103 men saved, 0 casualties. Stalag 9B silent escape: estimated 87 men saved. Stalag 3C silent escape: estimated 94 men saved, O-Flag 7B silent escape, estimated 59 men saved. Total documented 343 American prisoners who came home. None would have made it without that coffee can welded to a pipe. Testimony, Private Raymond Torres, 1999. Interview. People ask me if Vinny was a hero. I tell them he was a machinist. He saw a problem. Too much noise. He fixed it. That's what machinists do. They don't ask permission. They don't wait for approval. They see what's broken, and they fix it. 103 of us lived because one man refused to accept that silence was impossible. Vincent Kowalski died February 14, 1987. Detroit, age 71. Heart attack at the River Rouge plant, same factory where he'd worked for 42 years. He was on the floor when it happened, inspecting a die press, checking tolerances. Died doing what he'd always done, making sure the machines worked right. His obituary in the Detroit Free Press mentioned his military service in one line. Veteran, U.S. Army, World War II, European theater. No mention of the Thompson, no mention of the suppressor, no mention of 103 men who walked out of a POW camp. His funeral drew 200 people, fellow workers from Ford, men from his neighborhood, 8 men who'd been in Stalag 7 Wayno. They didn't speak during the service, didn't tell stories, just stood in the back and saluted when the coffin passed. Sergeant Paul Henderson, age 73, was one of them. He was interviewed after the funeral. Testimony, Sergeant Paul Henderson, 1987. A reporter asked me what Vinny meant to me. I told him he meant I got to meet my grandchildren. He didn't understand. I explained I was in that camp. I was one of the 103. Without Vinny, I'd be buried in Germany. Instead, I'm here. I had kids. They had kids. That's 4 people who exist because one machinist from Detroit refused to accept the Army's rules as absolute truth. That's a legacy. The Army never officially acknowledged the escape operation, never declassified the reports during Kowalski's lifetime, never apologized for burying his achievement. In 1998, 11 years after his death, the Army issued a statement. Official Statement, U.S. Army Historical Division, 1998. Review of declassified World War II documents confirms PFC Vincent Kowalski's role in Stalag 7A escape operation, April 1945. While his methods violated contemporary regulations, his actions resulted in the successful repatriation of 103 American prisoners. The U.S. Army recognizes his initiative and technical skill. No posthumous commendation will be issued due to regulatory violations, but his service is acknowledged. Acknowledged, not honored, not celebrated, acknowledged. Dr. Patricia Morrison's response, 1998. The Army's statement is typical institutional cowardice. They acknowledge Kowalski saved 103 men, then refused to honor him because he broke rules to do it. This is the same institution that gave medals to generals who lost thousands of men through incompetence. But a machinist who saved 103 men through innovation gets acknowledged. It's obscene. The Smithsonian requested the suppressor for display in 2001. The Army couldn't provide it. Still buried somewhere in Bavarian forest. Still hidden. Still secret. Some veterans tried to find it. Traveled to Germany. Searched the forests near Moosburg. Dug in the area where Kowalski buried it. They never found it. Trees had grown. Terrain had changed. 56 years of forest growth covered everything. The suppressor is still there. Somewhere. Buried. Forgotten. Like the man who built it. Investigators' conclusion. The Thompson Whisper Mod violated War Department regulations. Cost Kowalski any chance at official commendation. Remained classified for 52 years. And saved 343 men who who would have died waiting for liberation that came too late. The army was right. It was illegal. The prisoners were right. It worked. Sometimes those truths don't contradict. They coexist, like a suppressor hidden in German forest dirt, like a tool and die maker who knew how machines fail and how to fix them, like 103 men who crossed a killing field in silence because someone decided regulations mattered less than lives. The official record says it barely happened. The survivors know better. They know that sometimes the rules exist to be broken, that sometimes unauthorized is the same as necessary, that sometimes one man with skills and tools and absolute moral clarity can accomplish what entire armies cannot. Vincent Kowalski never called himself a hero. He called himself a machinist. When people asked how he saved 103 men, he said he fixed a problem. The problem was noise. He fixed it. That's the job. Final interview, Vincent Kowalski, Veterans History Project, 1983. They asked me after the war why I did it, why I risked court-martial, why I violated regulations, why I didn't wait for official liberation. I told them I was a machinist. If a machine doesn't work, you fix it. The Thompson was too loud. I fixed it. That's what you do when something's broken. You don't ask permission. You don't wait for approval. You don't write memos. You fix it. That's the job. That's always been the job. He never elaborated, never explained further, never claimed it was heroism or sacrifice or courage. He called it engineering. Maybe that's the most honest description. Engineering is solving problems with the tools available. Regulations are just constraints. Lives are the success metric. Kowalski optimized for lives. Everything else was secondary. History is built by people who see broken systems and fix them. Sometimes with permission. Sometimes without. Always with consequences. What are you building? What are you fixing? What system are you watching fail? While everyone else says that's just how it works, Kowalski answered with a coffee can and a lathe and 18 days of hand-filing threads in darkness. You answer with your choices, with your skills, with your willingness to act when action violates procedure. The rules exist for order, but order doesn't save lives when the system is broken. Sometimes you need a machinist from Detroit who knows tolerances matter more than regulations. Sometimes you need someone who buries the evidence and never claims credit. Sometimes you need someone who fixes the machine. Make them count. Make your choices count. Because 103 men came home. Because one man refused to accept that silence was impossible. What impossibility are you going to refuse? Case file closed. November 14, 1997. Evidence archived. National Archives, College Park, Maryland, suppressor. Location: unknown, presumed buried. Bavaria, Germany.